Give everyone a few minutes and begin soon. I am already going to apologize in saying it is a text-heavy presentation simply because I had a lot of people email saying they can't attend but want the materials. So I overdid it on making sure that all the information is in the slides so you have it as a leave behind. We'll be sharing out the audio, sharing out these slides after the fact, but I do know compared to other presentations of ours that I threw a bunch of more text on the slides themselves. That's totally fine. We're going to talk through it all. Don't want to overwhelm people, but there is a reason behind that. We are going to be giving people another minute or two. So if you need to get up and get water or whatever you need, we'll start in a second. And please, any questions or any topics you want to make sure we cover, this is obviously a planned presentation, but the hope is also participation. If you have any ideas yourself, questions, best practices, successes, maybe even failures you're willing to share with the group. I know that other schools are always interested in learning from each other. So one more minute and then we'll get started. And if you can't see my screen or are having issues with the text size, let me know and I can adjust as well.
She would be.
All right. I know people might be joining over the next few minutes. I'm going to just let everyone join over time and we'll start the presentation. As I was saying to those who joined earlier, this is more text heavy just because I want the leave behind slides. I did get several emails of people wanting the resources but not being able to attend today. So I overdid it to overshare there. Anyone who signed up for this presentation will be receiving the recording as well as these slides after today, probably later this afternoon, if not by tomorrow at the latest. And without further ado, we'll begin. So just a quick introduction. I am Katie Gibson. I'm the CEO of Wavelength. We host a bunch of roundtables throughout the year. We try and make it relevant to the time of year or relevant happenings that are occurring around your industry. And so what we're going to do is jump into really trying to focus on how do you prepare your seniors this year as they prepare for graduation, as they become young alumni. And my dog just started chewing a bone underneath me. If that gets too annoying, please just flag it in the chat and I can move him into the other room. But what we're going to be covering today is really a few different main topics. One, thinking about graduation as like a physical date of you've got them in the school for the next few months. What does that look like? Another is thinking through, this is a graduate who has always had the identity of a student. How do you help transition them into this new alumni identity and setting expectations around what new interactions and what their new role is going to be with you and with the school itself? The other is thinking through, what are those college and career resources that are readily available at your fingertips on the web or elsewhere that can really help support your graduates. Next is celebrating achievements. And last is setting the stage for that long-term engagement. Thinking alumni communications, alumni benefits, looping in older alumni to participate in things that are already happening. There's a lot to cover, and I am going to try and make sure we have time at the end and either give yourself back some time or allow for dialogue and discussions. But before we do get into the presentation, are there any specific challenges or questions that you all are facing on the call that you want to make sure we talk through? You can always make sure to mention it in the chat and I'll get to it as we're presenting as it's relevant, or we can pause and talk. So as you're writing those in, no, I'll definitely get to any of those comments, but we're going to dive right into preparing for graduation. So when you're thinking about preparing for graduation, you want to have very clear communication. So that is thinking through what are the expectations and needs that your graduates have, or your seniors have rather, to be able to walk at their graduation? What needs to be completed? Now, you are very likely not the only team that is having a checklist of things that need to happen. So they're going to be getting materials from probably advisors to college guidance to so many other departments that you want to make sure that it's seamless and that it all fits into that end goal of graduation. So for your part, actually understanding what everyone else is asking of the students is going to be relevant, because if you're over communicating and sending too many materials to start and they're already receiving so much else from everyone else, also, this is their senior spring. They're wanting just to relax. There are times where oversharing might be too much. So what you need to think about is what's the absolute bare minimum that you want and need to get communicated to them right now versus what can be distributed over time. And the other thing is around the parents. And I'm going to kind of dribble in the parent side a little bit throughout this presentation, but parents are like a whole nother conversation about what their role is and level of involvement. But right now, there is a level of parent communication that could be relevant at the same time around maybe you're doing some alumni banquets or other events that both the student and parent should be aware of. But first step in my recommendation is get an understanding of what does the spring schedule look for these students? Who is asking different things of them? We work with several schools where there's senior projects and there are different, more independent initiatives that these students are taking when they're in their last few months at your school. Understanding when you can get their attention and also what else is asked of them is going to be relevant here. So I mentioned the aspect of hosting a graduation event, an alumni event. And so, and I'm just going to quickly, if you don't mind 1 second, I'm going to try and, let's see if I can do this. So when you're thinking about the whole aspect of events, what you obviously need to think about is budget. As we mentioned, that schedule, what else is going on? And you also want to make sure that you are thinking through what your intent behind the event is. Is this a celebration? Is this a celebration with education materials of passing along information? Maybe all you want to do right now is just focus on a brief announcement in a senior meeting and then focus on touch points after the fact. Each school is going to have different priorities, different needs. And so I can't tell you exactly what to do, but having touch points pre-graduation will help in setting those expectations of what ongoing communication will look like. It introduces yourself and allows you to be able to make sure that they know after graduation that it doesn't mean they're done with the school, done with interacting with each other. This is your opportunity pre the graduation, which is a full celebration of just focused on them, to be able to show that you are continuing to support them well after the fact, and that there's going to be a lot more that can be done. And you hope that they return to the school, that they keep in touch with each other, and you're going to be sharing out what those resources are. At Wavelength, we're a software portal that helps with like alumni engagement online. So one of the things that our clients do is actually invite their seniors to our portal. So that way the seniors are in the system, are interacting and seeing how they can be networking with each other, finding other alumni attending the same college, things like that. So they know that they are joining a community rather than leaving it during graduation itself. So with that transition support, what you're wanting to think about is sharing out what resources and setting the expectation of what can they expect from the school, what can they expect from you or your team, and what can they expect from whether you have an alumni association. Is there an alumni board? Is there a way, do you have like a Facebook group of alumni gathering that people can be posting and interacting? You are trying to simply give them the ideas of what's out there. I've said this before already. Your seniors are going to have a lot on their mind, though. So giving them too many materials, giving them too much information, it might not be relevant to them immediately. So making sure that you have these materials or these instructions and resources available to them after the fact. Do you have it on your website? Do you have it as like a potential packet that can be shared out later? Do you have it on your content hub? Do you have an alumni portal? Do you have resources where your graduates, once they're ready to interact again, can think and know where to go to find those resources? So you're doing a quick information dump, but realize not everything's going to be retained. How can they, when they're ready, find those materials? So have the plan of, yes, you're sharing a lot, but where can they go afterwards once they've settled down to be able to proceed with interacting and staying in touch with the school? One idea around transition support as they are moving to this next stage is you already have at least 4 years of young alumni in college. And what you can very much do is actually, if you have pockets of select colleges a lot of your students go to, you can be connecting alumni with these graduates, of encouraging meetups between these seniors once they go to the campus to meet with the alumni who attended your school and are now attending the same school as their fellow peers. So that can either be an introduction before graduation in the intent of just saying congratulations on your next step. There are people at your next campus that you might already recognize. And then at a later date, once they've enrolled in the fall, actually encouraging these coffee chats or gatherings will be a real way to continue to support the community feel and make these alumni not feel alone as they're establishing themselves on a new campus. The transition support, and I know this fits under prepare graduation part of this presentation, but the transition support can also work for your young alumni. So it goes beyond just a transition to college, but there's a ton of networking and job tools that we'll get to later that are going to be relevant beyond just your seniors. So what's really a positive behind all of the actions you're taking today is none of this work is going to all of this work is going to be able to be applied to other graduation years or can be reused in future graduations. So all you're having to do now is compile, what are the resources I have at hand? Is there anything that should be missing? Is this information relevant just to graduates, or do young alumni of any age in their 20s need this information? Where are these resources available today? How can I share them out? So now what we're trying to do is really set that new alumni identity. You're thinking about graduation, preparing for graduation. So now it's the alumni identity side. Now, with the alumni identity, what you're wanting to do is make sure that they feel integrated with this new community. They've always had this feeling of, I'm part of this student body. That language, that whole identity is shifting, and they're going to be part of a new student body. But what are they going to feel like as an alum of your school? Do you already have preset alumni association related materials around what are your priorities as alumni community in maintaining the school's values? Are there specific initiatives? You want to make sure that your alumni are feeling like, and when I say young alumni, I'm saying these new graduates, you want to make sure that they understand that they still are welcome back at the school, but in what capacity? It's not like they're just going to walk back into the classrooms. What you can do is provide them ideas of really what is that role that they have. So one thing that you can do is ask older alums to share their advice. What was from the alum side in terms of what they wish they knew in their new college self? Or what are those well wishes that you can send to your seniors so that they see that there's alumni who want them to be part of this new community? Now, when you're establishing this new alumni identity, it's talking about what types of community does this look like? Because the student body has always, in a more traditional sense, been focused around a physical location of a school. This is now shifting. There are a lot of ways to be able to provide a community through social media, through portals like ourselves at Wavelength, but it's the setting of expectations. The student body experiences, I walk onto campus and I expect this. Social media, you have so many different groups that people are joining outside of just your school group. You really want them to understand, again, what should I be looking for here? Are there events? Are there resources? Am I trying to network? These are young souls who need a little guidance in what is really expected of them. What can they ask of this community? Is their role to be, seeking support and help from others, or are you asking them to volunteer and be leaders in their own right as well? So you want to be sharing this information out with them. Now, when it comes to sharing this information out, one thing you definitely need from them is their data. So you right now very well might only have their school email addresses. Going back a few slides, we talked about aligning around communication and requirements across departments, but unless another department like your college guidance team is acquiring personal emails and the ultimate decision of which college your alum are going to, you want as up-to-date data as possible before they leave your campus. Because even though you have these grand ideas of welcoming them to the Alumni Association, inviting them to social media groups, if you do not have their phone, their email, and it not being a school email, then you're going to lose track of them. And it's a lot harder to bring people into the loop after the fact than it is to try and maintain contact immediately. So before they graduate, actually inviting them to these groups early means that you can do a direct one-to-one comparison of who has yet to log into our alumni portal, who has yet to fill out this updated data form. And you then have time to either track down the parents or track down the student before graduation itself. There are going to be a lot of senior events happening, so you can take that time to bring all that data together. It is never too early to start now. We are in March. It's going to go so quickly before graduation happens. Get people onto these groups, get that data early, even if it's a form. Like we've had some schools use it as an attendance. Like instead of actually doing an attendance of however you take attendance for seniors, have them write down their personal email. And you can see any emails that might be missing and track them down, because you are not going to be able to bring them into this alumni identity if you lose track of them even before they depart your school. So with that alumni identity, I mentioned, what is their role? Are they a mentee in a mentorship program? Are they class officers? Are they back to, freshmen in their minds of, oh, we're just the babies here. What is our role as we try and figure out this new dynamic? What you want to do is think about, what are you offering to your alumni base at large? And is it relevant to these young alumni? Because if you're offering volunteer programs, if you're offering events, you want to make sure that these events and these initiatives, whether it's coffee chats or, fireside chats or interviews, whatever it might be, they're not going to be relevant to your entire alumni base. But what I recommend, and I've said this before on other roundtables, is if you actually look and lay out your entire marketing plan for the entire year, you can not only see where there might be dead zones of communication, but you can also see what are the themes in which I'm communicating. So are you only sharing local events? That immediately removes the ability for anyone who lives in a geographic region from afar to be able to attend the events. Are you providing initiatives that aren't recognizing what a college student's relationship is to their studies, to attending a campus or what have you. If you are trying to do a Young Alumni initiative, but it's right during a midterms or finals and not during their breaks, how are they going to be able to participate? So that alumni identity is not only what is the identity of an alum at large, but what is your hope for a young alum to experience? Now, your graduates are going to be going through growing pains themselves as they reestablish themselves on a new campus. So a lot of these programs, do not be discouraged if people aren't engaging with you as a senior or during their summer right before college. This is, in their minds, sometimes their last hurrah. So what you might feel is like a desert when it comes to engagement, when it comes to communication. That is not always going to be that way. I would say be a pillar of a resource, be a voice that you continue to share out, send them well wishes before they go off to their new campus. But if you don't hear back, that is not necessarily a negative. It's just understanding that they've added a new identity to their persona, and they're trying to navigate what that looks like, and they're still quite young. So when you're thinking those college and career resources, what do they actually need? One thing around college support, as I've mentioned, you have alumni in college today, whether it's attending the same colleges that your students are going off to, or they're only a year out from already experiencing what it was like to spend their first night in a dorm in a place they've never been to, maybe not knowing anyone. So you can actually be asking for advice from your young alumni to give to your recent grads about what they should do in their first term or semester on their new campus. There are a lot of resources out there for that colleges provide. On Wavelength, we have a content hub where it's, where can you go on campus for resources on how to choose a major? Or what are ways that I can get more involved in the student body? There's a ton of resources out there, and each college has them, but sometimes your graduates might feel a little bit debilitated in where to look and what to do. So actually giving them not only a warm welcome of, hey, you're alumni now, it's giving them also the advice and support of, this is where we're here for you. And also your new school would also have some resources. It shows that you're hand-holding them as much as they want, and they can opt in or opt out on the level of engagement they have with you. So college-wise, you can guide them on what resources there are. You can loop them back with young alumni, or you can get young alumni to give some ideas themselves on what to do. The career support is always going to be interesting. You're going to have a wide range of your graduates who are either going to be looking for internships, for side jobs, for whatever other initiatives they might be thinking about their major related to career support. So those resources out there already exist, between, hey, resume best practices to interview prep. What's the difference between an informational interview versus a job interview? How do I prepare differently? There are a lot of resources out there. You don't need to recreate the wheel. You also shouldn't feel like you need to put a lot of time and effort in this, but it's simply showing that you are going to ongoing support them. This is a huge push also for parents to see that you aren't just looking for alumni engagement for development purposes. Yes, relationships are important and fundraising is necessary for the success of the school. But especially this young alumni group, they do not have the funds that you're looking for from fundraising. What you want to do is maintain relationships with them, so when they do come of a giving age, they're ready to and see the value of your ongoing contact points. But also, you still have a very strong relationship with these parents of the alum. Some of these parents of the alum are also parents of current students. So if they see that you're continuing to provide ongoing support as their kids are in college, as their kids are looking for internships, that will likely encourage their continued giving, even if they no longer have students in the classrooms themselves. So career support, you can very easily, again, Wavelength, we have some free resources. I'll link to that in my email later today. But there's a lot of resources online that you can absolutely use as your own repository on your site as you're trying to support basic career resources. I haven't even jumped into talking about job search or getting different people to talk about industries and all of that, which can come down the line. But you have availability at your fingertips because of the internet. And don't forget that you don't need to spend a lot of time writing up a lot of new resources here when there's a lot of talented individuals who know what they're already doing, and you can repurpose or reference them and still just provide a repository for your alumni base, regardless of whether you created it or not. So those internships and job opportunities, there's so much you can do here. One is actually using your local community and broader alumni base to provide these resources to your young alumni. Now, there are some seniors that are going to be looking for internships for the summer. We have had schools reach out to the older alumni base who live locally to say, hey, we'd love to support our seniors as they become graduates before, they head off to college. Do you have any summer internship opportunities? Either like we'd love to post them on our job board if you do have an alumni portal, or we have some select people seeking these resources. Can we share your information with them? Beyond internships and job opportunities, your alumni are going to feel grateful for you reaching out to them in terms of asking to see if they can get involved. This is what's important around fundraising, and we've talked about this on previous roundtables. We'll talk about this in future ones. Fundraising goes a lot beyond like the money itself. It has a lot to do with relationship building. So bringing in alumni in whatever touch points you can, like this one, to say, can you give advice, makes them feel like they're contributing, even if they can't financially now, but can down the line. From the internship and job opportunities, a lot of these students, be it your seniors or that young alumni space in college, they are figuring out what they want their first career choice to be. So you can also be you can be highlighting different alumni stories on what industries they're a part of. You can do alumni spotlights to career days or a Zoom meeting where you really highlight a few different industries that you think are most relevant to your seniors and have them listen in to alum as they talk about what their experience was getting into the industry or into the job or the company that they work for. I think it's always valuable to also bring in alum who might have had an unusual trajectory to where they got to today. With that in mind, it allows your seniors to feel flexible and may give them the ability to recognize, hey, let me test. Right now is the time to test and learn whether this internship and in this industry is what I want to do long term. Or should I be trying something else? Who should I be talking to? This is where you have at your fingertips a wide range of alumni willing to be able to talk with your young alumni, with your seniors. And even if when I say talk, it doesn't mean one-on-one. That might be a big ask for a lot of alumni. This is, do you ask for input? Are you doing a quick blog post or article? Are you trying to pull together, an advice column for your seniors? You can turn this however you want this to, and it's totally based on your time and capability to what your vision is on what is that full package of what I want to be offering to this senior base here. So we talked resources, we've talked alumni identity. What we want to do is not forget like current events too and what's got them to this point. So celebrating achievements. There's a lot of ways to do senior spotlights. Highlighting these seniors, whether it's in newsletters to your alumni base, to the broader community. Is this social media profiles? Do you have a way that you can be giving out awards? What you want to do is make sure that you are addressing a wide range of skill sets. It doesn't always have to be sports, doesn't always have to be academic. You want everyone to be able to feel recognized in their own way. And you want this to be able to celebrate a wide range of success stories whether or not everyone's going to college or what caliber of college, there's a way to celebrate and feel like you're able to celebrate the full senior base without always focusing on valedictorian and all of that. So when you're thinking about those achievements, it doesn't just have to be like complete awards. They can be graduation gifts to absolutely everyone. School swag, everyone loves it. Even if it's just a small token, that's totally acceptable. When you're celebrating that, you want to think through, when are you giving that out? When are you distributing that? Because if it's during graduation itself, it's probably one of many things they're receiving. You don't want it to go astray. And then what you want to think about is it something relevant? Could it be useful for them in the next year? Or are they going to leave it behind? Making sure that it's a relevant piece, but also something that won't be, tossed away. So you want to find the right price point too. My recommendation is you could make sure that you can reuse this swag down the line. Don't add a graduation year unless you're very explicit with the graduation year of just picking the total number of your graduates. I think it's totally reasonable to reuse swag at other future alumni events. And so, sorry, I'm just making sure. Oh, Stacy, thanks for contributing. So you said giving the kids a blanket with the school seal. That seems like an excellent idea, especially for college. Make it be able to bring it along to use on their bed. It's an alumni association embroidered. That is a great idea. If anyone else has ones that they want to share, please go ahead and add to the chat. There have been like keychains always added to, car keys, all of that. There's a lot of different things that you can do for sure. Now, if I can navigate back to my screen, let's see. It's not wanting to hide the chat. Sorry, folks. I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second and go back to. Let's see. Now it should go back here. Sorry, navigation. Are you all seeing my celebrate your achievements again? All right, great. So when it comes to the swag, keep sharing in the chat. Blankets, always great. Any sort of materials that you can use and repurpose at other moments or be able to use the next year if you want to order in bulk, that obviously helps with pricing. What you don't want to do is, or rather one idea is that you can also use it as an incentive. So whether it's, hey, you'll get this item, but for anyone who does X activity, like update your contact information, you'll get an upgraded swag item. That's always an option. Sometimes people make it competitive between different advisory groups. Hey, whoever does this first, you get, X fun pizza party or whatever it is. Honestly, it should all be celebratory. Everyone should be winning anyway, but having a little incentive to get that contact information, I'm going to say this over and over again because we deal in data every single day. Data is the hardest thing to stay on top of. It's the first thing to go. 25% of data decays every single year from your entire alumni base. If you are not actively working on getting that data updated, you are losing potential donors down the line. So being able to get this data early and a little bit of bribing or a little bit of competition through some really positive materials is the way to go here. So when we then get to the setting the stage for long-term engagement, this is where you're thinking about, okay, at this point, we've had some celebratory fun. We've recognized their achievements. We're telling them what to expect in terms of their new alumni identity, supporting them and where to be in touch. We're trying to, have various touch points throughout the spring, knowing that they're overwhelmed with everything else going on in their life. How do we set the stage for long-term engagement? One is just making them aware of what your programming looks like overall. Class reunions, you might not have class reunions every single year for people, but have it be, 5th year, 10th, 15th, all of that. So yes, you're not going to be invited to the class reunions next year, but 5 years from now, we can't wait to celebrate with you, and you're always welcome at homecoming and all these other events. You're able to give them this broader picture of, look at this runway. You are a graduate of ours for life. No matter what stage of life you're in, you will always be part of this. And these are just a few events that we're looking forward to celebrate with you moving forward. And I keep using events as an example just because it's the easiest one to bring up from like a physical touch point. But there's so many other ways that these alum are going to be able to interact with your school. If you have um, any specific events that people love to return back to, are you well known for your plays and musicals and the arts? Or is your sports teams, like, do you have select sports teams that are just huge success? You can always be bringing up different initiatives that way around how they can continue to participate throughout the year, hear updates from you. What is the schedule of, you're going to get a newsletter from us? Or, hey, eventually we'd love for you to join our alumni board. We need representation in these different categories at all times, or these are different volunteer opportunities. And we have chapters of alumni in other cities that we'd love for you to be able to continue to network and grow with them as you move away from our school. So think about, what is your schedule of programming, and be able to give them highlights only. From the alumni updates as well, I've mentioned before around giving a wide range of options with making sure you're celebrating different success and milestones. You can do this with alumni updates. So bringing in alumni stories of people being successful in their own right, no matter what that is, of what industry they're a part of, what they're doing in their lives. We actually just worked, my alma mater, who's actually a client of ours, one of their alum was just nominated for an Oscars, and being able to like go through that full experience of having him back and interviewed by the students around sharing, like being able to share the actual digital short, like all of these things. It's really cool. Everything you can do around an initiative. Now that's a really big like award and newsworthy thing. What we have done at Wavelength is actually established a news, like a Slack channel, so that if someone is named in the news associated with a school, it comes up, because there's so much happening. And some of them obviously might be obituaries, but a lot of it could be other stories of like, so and so in this state is like, has been like nominated, or they're in this new role. Maybe they've been able to do X initiative, they're part of NASA, whatever it is. You want to be able to give the broad alumni updates so that not only are you sharing those at a regular cadence, but there's some sort of collective location where these stories, you're celebrating a wide range of them. So your current students, your young alumni are seeing them, and they can see that they might themselves be highlighted at a future date as well. So when it comes to thinking around how to get this material out, packets are one of them. It could be digital form, it could be physical. Physical form, when you give it to your students, it might be going into backpacks, might be lost and scrunched into the base of their backpacks. So you want to be thinking about, how is this material relevant back to the parents' role too, sending resources along there so that if you are providing career support, if you are providing internship opportunities, college ideas, having the parents know that these exist so that they can actually bring it up to their child at a date when it makes sense to them is also necessary and relevant. So I would say, whatever you pull together, have it be in a form that's printable, online, QR code, be able to let them just scan it in and find it on their phone, but have it be also accessible to the parents so they know it's there and reference it later. So when you're thinking about what is relevant to your young alumni, what are you offering? You're thinking about, what is their current stage of life? We have previous roundtables around persona building. I can send those out if people want. So just message that in the chat if you do want me to include it. But it helps you build out what is the life stage? What are the main pain points? What are the main needs? What are the main questions that this young alumni base is facing? Because I can just be throwing a whole lot at the wall, but I don't have enough time to be able to figure out what's actually going to be that silver bullet that works. So in your case, what you want to be thinking about is what type of channels am I communicating through beyond having physical events? Can I be providing webinars and workshops that are relevant to this young group? I, at this point, have transitioned from talking about just your graduates to thinking about your young alumni base being that 4 to 8 year range after graduation, because what you're creating for them is going to be very similar to what you're creating for your seniors when it comes to any sort of resources beyond getting through graduation. Workshops and webinars, these are either asking other alumni to give advice, it's asking teachers, it's being able to provide information yourself. A lot of times, young alumni just want to hear from their former teachers, what's going on in the world, have like special topics of different highlighted like history or whatever it might be. You can bring in teachers that are retired, that are current, and have them provide advice as well, because that's really where these young alumni are listening to people they trust and know from their past as they're looking into their future. Personalized outreach from you all as well is going to be really important. So either before or after they graduate, you're going to want to be sending personalized emails, letters, just welcoming them to the community. Easy touch point before they go off to college, you're sending them off with a welcome letter to their new campus. You're sending well wishes. Can't wait to see you when you're back over Thanksgiving. We have X initiative going on. And if you can't make it, we hope to see you over the holidays. We're going to be gathering young alumni for a dodgeball event. Whatever it might be, what you're trying to do is show you know where they are in their life stage. They're off to a new adventure. You are continuing to maintain that you are a contact and a resource, and have them feel like they're continuing to get support from your school. Personalized outreach itself, it depends on what type of email platform and portal you use. Mail Merge is a tool that I highly recommend. It allows you to create what seems to be very personalized emails, but you can create a template and then be able to send off these messages. So it says, hi, Katie, hi, Joe, hi, Rachel. And even beyond just names, you can do personalization of like, as you attend X college, insert college here. If you have all of that in a spreadsheet form, you can be sending out really personalized information in one click of a button, as long as you have the template set correctly. And it allows you to really seem on top of like knowing who this person is as an individual, while respecting your time in being able to actually send out all of these communications while you're maintaining your day-to-day. If people want me to talk about mail merge and other email capabilities, just in terms of like automation, happy to do so after we finish up here. We've talked about looping in older alumni earlier on, but these alum are going to more than willing provide even quick quotes of congratulations to the graduates. Mentorship and volunteering and providing career support, that is another level that you might not be targeting the full alumni base on. You might be targeting specific groups of people. Again, it depends on your data health, depends on activity level and engagement of your alumni base. When it comes to mentorship and volunteering, you always want to very clearly set expectations of what the volunteer or mentorship role is expected to be. Mentorship to an individual can be defined very differently. So you might be having someone saying, I don't mind being a mentor, thinking that they're going to have a one-off person call them up, ask them, hey, I'm thinking about your industry, tell me more, to someone else saying, oh, I'm going to be a mentor. This is a one-on-one partnership and relationship I'm setting up for, a year or two as I oversee how they're doing in college and looking for that next internship. So when you're bringing older alumni in, regardless of what your ask is, you want to be very clear on what that ask and request is, because not only will it mean that they know what they're signing up for, but it also gives you the boundaries that if they start to overstep, because we all know, I know in your head right now, you've got a few people in your brain of, ooh, this person is trying to do too much because they think that they should do more. You're able to go back to, no, this ask that I made of you is actually just these guardrails here. I'd love for you to help with that at a later date or whatever it is, but it helps you really set those boundaries. Mentorship also requires a bit more oversight from you. So it depends on what your capabilities are. One, letting mentees know really what to expect. Two, recruiting mentors, overseeing that. Unless you have like a formal portal that allows for people to find each other through mentorship and volunteering, or there are resources explaining what to do and just let them go off on their own, I'd say mentorship is probably something you do at a later stage. Start with getting those alumni who can send well wishes, welcome them to the Alumni Association, maybe have them be the ones to invite them to social media. If you do follow the college, like who attended what, you can actually have older alumni who went to the same college that your students are going to, not only send well wishes of, hey, we attended the same high school, here's some advice of, I really loved this order from this cafeteria and this building in this next college. So you can really personalize it depending on how much time you have. Career support. Career support is something that it depends on your data health. We have ways to break down data so you can identify where people are by industry, location, all of that. So you can start to identify who you can bring in to ask for career days, to who you want to be asking to post roles because they're local to the area or what have you. That is why when you're thinking career support, especially for this young base, start with just resources. Before you jump into job postings and internships, do you have the basics of just resources of this is how you start to look for internships, this is how you prepare for an interview. Once you have some basics like industry insights, that's when you can start to grow, because you don't want to jump into the deep end, start a full jobs campaign and realize, wait, this isn't actually what most people want, or we don't have enough engagement here for me to basically put all this effort in. So I'm all about staging to that end goal. So what you want to do is really start small and grow up from there. Now, I said not yet covered here with parents. I've mentioned it a few times. I want to jump all the way back to when I, at the beginning of the call, said parents can receive materials, parents can learn about what you're providing to their graduates so that you're able to support them ongoing. Parents will maybe continue to donate if you stay in touch with them as well. Maybe they're the contact points or you loop them in as well, just because they are the ones that are used to school communications. The students aren't used to school communications in the capacity that we're talking about with you as an advancement development alumni team. So we're gonna go on a parent presentation probably in April. I think that's what the calendar has it as. But just know that when you're thinking your graduates, when you're thinking this spring, you're gonna have a graduation event. And that event does not have to be a formal gala. It could be a senior meeting, as I said. You're introducing yourself, you're getting their contact data, you're celebrating them. This could be more than one event. It could be looped into other initiatives you've got going on as a school. Parents can be shared with all this information so that they know what's going on and that you can CC them into any communications this summer. So I'm going to quickly go back to just the agenda here. We quickly talked through preparing for graduation. That identity is huge. Your student is becoming an alum. They're young, they're impressionable, they're trying to figure out what their next steps are. You're helping them figure out what alumni means to you as a school. You're setting that definition. You're then able to provide quick and easy career and college resources. They're not going to take you up on it immediately. Having it on hand is important though, and all your other younger alumni are going to use that. Have it available somewhere, whether that's something that you can email out. That's, I'd say, the lowest form of being able to just be able to send it out that way. But if you actually have a way people can navigate it to there themselves. We all know young students are less willing to do like one-on-one outreach or like call someone up to ask for help. If you can have some resources available at their fingertips, that's going to be useful. We want to celebrate their achievements and then set that long-term engagement so that, or set the stage rather, so that they really know what to expect in the future. If you are just starting off your alumni program, this is a way that you can help set definitions around what your long-term vision is. If you have a program that's maybe slowed down in terms of engagement, this is your way as you're setting these young alumni up. You can communicate this out to the larger alumni base as well. You can let them know, your whole alumni, this is our vision. These are expectations. We're celebrating these young alumni. Here are the values we're excited to continue to instill in them. So what you're doing for your young alumni, you can be communicating out to your entire alumni base, but just know that all of this that I've covered today, take back and identify bare minimum. What do I need? I need their data, and I need to introduce myself and just set the stage of what's to come. Everything else can happen over time, but bottom line, if you can't contact them, you can't actually stay in touch with them or be able to help with fundraising or get them back at the school. So get contactable information. If you need the parents to get involved, that's also totally feasible. Loved the blanket idea. Any other swag ideas? Materials, people love items that are relevant, and the blanket is actually something that's really useful. So that is the presentation. I think we've got about 10 minutes. So if there are any questions, let me know. We're going to send out resources. You can email me directly. Our info at Search Wavelength is, you can always email that for wavelength related questions, or if there are any other presentations that you want or may have missed previously, we can always send updated presentations and documents there. But thank you everyone for your time. I will stay on for the next few minutes and I'll be sharing out the resources in a little bit.
Thank you, Katie. Very interesting. I
Thanks.
enjoyed.
I'm wondering, I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
At my school, I don't work on the same campus as our seniors. I work on the lower school campus.
Yeah.
And I guess I wonder, for me, it feels like I don't have a regular working relationship with seniors a lot of the
Yeah.
time, like I used
Yeah.
to. So
Yeah.
my biggest challenge is getting in there. Sometimes I just go to the upper campus and I set up and just work from there,
And
just
just
so
work,
they
yeah.
see me, like,
Yeah.
because I've had a hard, like I've done some introductions to them at senior meetings or at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hit as well as it did when I was working from
Physically
there
there.
all the time, when ironically, I wasn't part of alumni development.
There's something about familiar faces for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think setting up shop there even before the springtime, and again, thinking of next year, whatever, that makes sense. I think in the short term, trusted faces are always useful. So if you can, when you are doing introductions, actually having like a favored advisor or teacher or head of school, whatever it is, to do the introduction, to be there standing next to you. And it's not just like the introduction itself, but like being there and maybe even piping in would help give you credibility, because that's really what you're trying to establish, right? So it's and you establish your credibility previously before the alumni space, being an alumni rather, because you were just in their lives and they saw you in the hallway. Credibility by having someone stand next to you that they value and trust is going to give you the ability that to either be heard, or again, you can give the talking points to someone next to you being like, this is what I need them to take away and see my face and know that it's okay to be contacted by me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, I see your comment around the sheets that list out anytime an alum is in the news. This is actually something that we at Wavelength have created. We do this with colleges. We are trying this with high schools. It's a little different because a lot of times when news sources reference someone by name, they don't, if like a biography is listed, it's not always referencing high school, but we could do it by location. So that it's basically a live thread to say if any of your students are referenced, it shows up as a live feed. So you can reference it and see, oh, we've got so-and-so going to the Olympics, or so-and-so is, running for town council. So it's a wavelength feature that we've created, Tracy. And then I can keep referencing the comments unless someone wants to speak up too. Okay, so Shannon, I'm just reading yours live time right now. Oh, pin, that's a really great idea. So for those who might not have read, there's this alumni pinning ceremony. So before graduation, alums and graduating seniors attend, and they invite alum to pin and welcome the seniors to the Alumni Association. And they use a Google form for seniors to enter their non-school email address and their alumni pinner details before the event. That is amazing. So this is a really great idea to not only get updated data, it brings alumni back into the fold, it welcomes the seniors in, and it makes it feel like a full alumni identity and community. So that's a really cool idea. Thank you for sharing that, Shannon. Anything else that either haven't covered or questions or ideas people want to share? And if not, I can give you back 4 minutes. All right. I think I'm calling it then. Thank you all for joining. I know I talked a lot at you all. I'll share out the presentation. Any questions, feel free to reply. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.